Welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, episode 29, a podcast focused on retro gaming and giving ourselves an excuse to play our collection. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us, and if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rattino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
Salutations, my friend. Salutations.
Salutations. How you feeling? Because I'm feeling good, Dan.
Oh, listen, the Super Bowl's over and the Chiefs won. I picked them, and just goes out to my client, who I know doesn't listen to the show.
Oh. Well,
so that's why I could say this, because because he's a client. So, in your face, Eagles fan, because he's
all right.
They're in Philly.
I was thinking it was going to be a spicier take, but all right, I'll take it.
No, well, he's a client, so I don't want to diss my client to his face. I know he doesn't listen to this.
Understood. The names have been redacted to protect the innocent. I understand. I've seen Law and Order.
Yeah.
Or Dragnet or whatever. Yeah. I know how it goes. All right.
If he listened to, okay, so we're gonna do two versions. All right, so we did the version that the client doesn't listen to the show. So if the client did listen to the show, we'd be like, man, you know what? I'm so sorry about your Eagles. You get them next time. Mm-hmm. At least you beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
All right. So if you guys want more hot Super Bowl talk, check out episode 347 of our regular show, because we get into it at the top there too. It's a great episode.
Well, I mean, listen, I called it, right? I called it, and I know.
I think we both are like, Kansas City, but I mean, it was neck and neck till the end.
You were a little on the Eagles side. You when we talked about it off mic, you were like, "Oh no, that Eagles offense is pretty stellar." And I said,
"Yeah, for sure."
And I told you, and I said, "Yes, that's true." However, the Eagles defense let the Cowboys score like 42 points, right? Like 2 months ago. So their defense isn't all that great.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, every time he got the ball, he scored.
Yep.
In the second half, not the first half.
Yeah, it was crazy. Man's a beast.
Man's a beast. No, I want to say this is, and I say it at the beginning of the last 2 or 3 episodes, Saturday Morning Retro is like the most anticipated show for me to record. Like I'm starting to love these because I got all these games and I need an excuse. I need a reason to actually, jump into them.
Yeah.
So I love talking about retro stuff because we usually save all that retro talk unless it's in the news for the show. So I love talking about retro stuff.
Oh yeah.
So all right, Dave, let's get this show on the road. We have an awesome show this month coming up. We're going to talk about Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. And we're going to talk about the infamous Doom. All right? Like the OG Doom.
That's right.
The Doom that made me a PC player back in the day. But as we always start Saturday Morning Retro, this time in gaming history, and I like to tie it all together for you, Dave, because we're going to talk about the OG Doom later on in the show. But this time in gaming history, id Software was actually formed February 1st, 1991.
That is incredibly wild. I thought it was a little bit earlier, but I guess that makes sense. id Software, for anyone who doesn't know, were the creators of such classic hits as Commander Keen, Wolfenstein 3D, and the aforementioned Doom. The quintessential first-person shooter really kind of spawned a whole new genre. It's crazy.
Well, we'll put it this way. I'm sure, and I didn't really, dive deep into like how id was formed and all that stuff. It just sort of popped up. I knew we were doing Doom. Like you picked Doom, and I saw like, Doom. id was formed officially, became a company in February, right? So I was like, that could be the gaming history of this episode. So maybe they didn't just meet each other in February. right? I'm sure they came together, had some ideas, probably a little bit early on, and they made it legal, right? So just like we started the podcast, and then we eventually made it a legal entity, right?
That's right. That's right. We became official.
So it definitely did start earlier, I'm going to assume, but it became sort of a legal entity back in February of 1991.
So there's a very interesting story about id Software related to, I don't know if you know this, but they loved Super Mario Brothers 3 so much that they made a version of it for the PC. And that's not the craziest part, right? Because one thing that good consoles like the Master System and the Nintendo and basically every console after that had over the PC was it could do smooth scrolling, right? When you see Mario and he's like running and the screen just kind of moves and it moves very, I guess, natural. I don't know if natural is the right word. It moves very smooth. That was very hard to do on PC.
It's seamless.
Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to say.
PC had a terrible time with it. So id Software decided to sit down and port Super Mario Bros. 3. And they did an amazing job. And they even brought it to Nintendo and said, hey, this is what we have. We want to finish this and we want to put it on PC. And Nintendo said no. Or I think specifically Shigeru Miyamoto said no. He said, it's great. You guys did something really cool here. And they said no. It's actually been put out now, so you can actually play it. It is at the Strong National Museum, which is like the one of the video game preservation museums in the U.S. I think it's in upstate New York, actually. So it's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, you know, beyond all that, beyond the Commander Keen games, which were great side-scrolling games, Wolfenstein and Doom, man, they are some of the most important games in history. I think Doom more than Wolfenstein, but Wolfenstein, I mean, it wasn't the first.
Wolfenstein was the first. Well, Wolfenstein came before Doom.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a couple.
They used the bones of Wolfenstein.
Well, for sure.
Create Doom. Yeah,
sure. And you know, people may argue though, there was other ones before Doom or Wolfenstein.
Corridors. I always mess up the name because it's been so long.
Corridor 7 was around that time. Yeah. Corridor 7
was the first one I played.
Corridor 7 aped off of Wolfenstein. It was basically using the Wolfenstein tech, kind of. I think it was its own engine, but it was essentially the same tech as Wolfenstein. There was a couple other ones I forget, like Colossal something or other maybe, or Caves of something, or there was a couple other ones. Blakestone, Aliens of Gold, I think was one, but Wolfenstein was the one, and then Doom just blew it out of the water. I mean, it is crazy, but we'll get into that later. So I guess happy 32nd birthday to id Software. Can we say that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Wow.
Happy
well, you know what? Now they can drink. Or they've been able to drink.
They've been able to. Yeah, they can rent a car. They can go to war. They can do everything now.
Yeah, they can do everything.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
In 3 more years, they can run for president. I think 35 is the minimum. So.
Well, they were started in the U.S., right? Yes. So okay, so they can run for president.
That's right. They are all native born, I think. So, yeah.
All right, Dave. We created the show largely so we could boast about our pickups.
Yeah, sure.
Did you get any good pickups this month?
I mean, if you want to count Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I think you should, a good pickup.
And I would.
I did. I picked that up for the PS5. I didn't have it. I didn't get it when the PS5 launched. I didn't get my PS5 at launch. I got it a few months after launch because supply was very limited. So Spider-Man kind of slipped through my hands. I still need to beat the first one. I'm close to beating it. I'm like 80% done because I was trying to 100% it. So I'm just going to go and blow through the end of the first one and then go and start Miles Morales because it's apparently amazing. I mean, yeah.
It's awesome. I love the story. I'm like, and you have it on a PS5, so you could do they have like this different type of art direction you can change the setting to, like that Spider-Man would be, Miles Morales would be it when he's Spider-Man, so it's super cool. I am like 80, I'll just say 85% done with the original Spider-Man because I jump into it from time to time. All right. I just don't. I hate chasing the stupid birds, the pigeons, catching all the pigeons.
Yeah.
I'll be missing some of these landmarks. I'm like, which one is a landmark? I'm from New York. This is not a landmark. This must be in the comics somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Avengers Tower. I mean, come on. That's in the game.
Yeah. Right. I know. But all right, I didn't have time to put the list together of pickups I got this month, so maybe I'll put it together for next month.
Okay.
But I will say I did get Like a Dragon Inshin for the PS5, and I have been playing it, which I'll talk about in games we've been playing on the next episode of the regular show. And I just got in the mail today, as we were recording this, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 for the Switch, and I got it from Limited Run. I ordered this at some point last year. I think I'm doing a countdown. Like, I think I have like 5 more games I'm just waiting for from Limited Run. I haven't ordered anything else because nothing else has interested me. So, but talking about pickups, Dave, I wanted to address something that we haven't talked about on this show. And we've talked about it off mics.
Yeah,
we did a couple of maybe like once or twice. Early on when this first started, but I want to talk about. And I don't want to give too much time to this because I'm not into the bashing of company. I don't want to bash anybody. But I definitely want to bring up the DK Oldies stuff that's happening on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty hot topic on the internet right now.
So when this initially first happened, I took umbrage with Review Tech USA's original video because I thought he was nitpicking. Where, this Nintendo has a nick on it. Yes, no shit, Sherlock. It's from 1985 or 86 or 87, whenever that system, when that particular system was sold, it has a nick on it. Good luck refurbishing that little nick, right? That somebody probably dropped it or hit it with a pen or something like that. Right?
I mean, yeah,
maybe it was in a shootout. Who knows?
You were saying he was going a little too hard in the paint. On the situation, which
but I was talking about the cosmetics. Like it's hard to refurbish something when a kid probably took his scissors and probably jabbed it in the side of it or something, and scraped it, right? Like, so I was pretty like annoyed at that part, and then the rubber part at the bottom, it's still a little dirty. It still has still some dust. No, like, come on, really? Like, that you can overlook. That's no big deal in the grand scheme of things. However, with that said, I am 1,000% on the internet side when it comes to you refurbish these consoles, but every time people open up a console, it is clearly not refurbished.
This is what I was trying to tell you. Like, it's stated on their website that this is what we do. There's, we spend time refurbishing. Now, you can get in the weeds on what refurbishing means and what level of quality, but you pay a lot for these consoles from DK Oldies because you expect them to be refurbished in a certain way, or at least put in a certain amount of care to it. And they're not even like blown or cleaned out. They're not even like rubbed down properly. They're using magic erasers on these things when they should be using Goo Gone.
No, I agree. No, again, I want to state where I was coming from. I was only coming from the angle of there's certain things you can't refurbish, right? Unless you just replace it completely, replace the shell, right? Because it has, these scratches, deep scrapes, a bullet hole. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Bullet hole? Jesus. Where are you putting your NES?
I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just saying there's certain cosmetic things, that it does bring character to the system because it is old.
Battle scars. Yeah.
Yeah, battle scars. Like I know you more so me than you. I don't mind the Blockbuster case. I don't mind the GameStop sticker.
Yeah.
Because it does bring a little character. It is a used item.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so I get that.
That's the part that I was upset at, right? Before he even opened the console, he's like, there's a nick on the side of the NES. No shit. Like, so what? But I'm totally with the internet. If they say they're going to refurbish it, this is what they're claiming, and they don't refurbish it. They should be held accountable for lying. Because I tell you this, the same I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I was watching a video earlier today while I was working. He opened up some Luki Games systems, and he's like, they don't claim to refurbish it, but they did a pretty damn good job cleaning the system he had.
Right? And you probably paid about half the price of what DK Oldies is charging for their system. So,
I wanted to give you... Yeah, no, I get it. No, I understand. But I want to give you an update. As of the recording of this, because it just came out like an hour or two ago. I don't think you saw it because I know you were doing some editing and stuff.
Yeah.
DK Oldies changed their terms of service on their website. And they did two things. One, they, originally said you had the sticker, you void the warranty. Obviously,
if you rip the sticker
they can't do that. Yeah, That's illegal. Can't do that. They changed that on their website. And they also changed on their website, their terms of service. By buying from DK Oldies, you agree not to join any class action lawsuits.
Wow.
Against them.
Can you do that?
And
I don't know if even that's legal.
They listen. This is not my expertise,
right?
Legal expertise, right? Like I don't do that. I'm a real estate person, and then there's real estate in New York. I don't really deal with like this stuff. But you by buying from DK Oldies on their website, you waive the right to be a part of a class action lawsuit, and you have to deal with them one-on-one.
Nope.
To fix any type of dispute that may arise.
That is the end of DK Oldies. That is the end of DK Oldies. I'm calling it now. Nobody's going to buy from them, right? Because everyone's going to be suspect. Everyone already is suspect of their refurbishing process, right? And now they okay, well, I mean, I guess they changed their policy to where you can crack it open and take a look at it. But then, if you buy something like, and it turns out that it was all messed up, is DK Oldies going to take it back? And if they don't, then you would obviously want to join that class action lawsuit. But now they're saying you can't do that. So, if they're not going to take them back, or it's a case by case basis, I wouldn't buy from them. They specifically say we will not take consoles back because they're, quality assured or whatever. I'm not gonna buy it. I wasn't gonna buy anything from them anyway because they were way expensive. And like, I get it. You're supposed to get a really nice quality console that's been like kind of worked on to make a whole again, but they're not doing that.
So I've never, funny enough, this whole time we've been doing the show, right? That's around, maybe give or take a year or two. I've been collecting maybe a little bit more before we did the show. I've never bought from DK Oldies.
Right.
I've never bought JJ Games. I've bought from Luki, eBay, actual video game stores. I've never bought from DK Oldies. It's just never been either a better price or a product I really wanted. And the one time I was going to get Panzer Dragoon Saga, right? I was so happy I didn't get it, and I'm happy, another client of mine's got it from Luki because it's in pristine condition. God knows if he would have brought it from Luki Games, and it was more expensive, by the way, from Luki. Right. It was more expensive, about maybe $500 more on Luki at the time.
Well, so, there you go. Sometimes it's worth paying a little extra, right? That goes a long way.
No, Luki had it for $500 more.
Luki did. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, not Luki. Sorry. DK.
Right.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because we haven't talked about it off mics. I know we talked about it before, and I didn't want you to bring it up off mics. I figured we could just talk about it on the retro show. I stand with solidarity with everybody on the internet. If you say you refurbish it and you don't, hold them accountable.
Right. That's why at the end of the show, right? At the end of Saturday Morning Retro, when we say, look, if you want to get this game, We don't say you can get it at DK Oldies.
No way.
We say you can get it at Lukey, and this is the price for it because we stand Lukey here. So there you go. It's not a paid advertisement. You know, we just we like good companies that do good things.
So with that said, Dave, it's that time of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Triple R. Do you want to remaster, remake, or recycle a game? And I know I love our top three. We alternate between top three and Triple R. And we had a great top three for the holiday season. So if you haven't heard that episode, go listen to, I think it was like episode 27. That was a good holiday top three. But I think I'm really loving my Triple R this month. So what would you remaster, remake, or recycle?
Oh, so I'm going I'm going deep in the annals of video games here. Now, I don't know if you've ever played this game because it never came out in North America.
Then I definitely haven't played it.
No, it was a fantasy movie made by the Jim Henson Company. I think it was made by Jim Henson when he was still alive, and it uses his amazing Creature Workshop and all that.
Wait, Jim Henson's dead? Wait, Jim Henson's dead?
Stop. Jim Henson's been dead. Get out of here.
Really? No, wait, I'm serious. No, serious. He's dead?
He died in 89. Are you pulling my chain?
Seriously? I thought he was still alive.
Are you sure you're not thinking of George Lucas and
why would I
because Jim Henson hasn't been alive since 89. We were in the Gulf War. Gulf War didn't even happen yet. And he passed away.
First, in 89, I know you were 27. I was only 7. Okay, so
yeah, but it's 30 years, Dan. You figure you would realize after that. Wow, you didn't realize. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but Jim Henson's dead.
Man, rest in peace.
We're not going to get any more Fraggle movies. Sorry, you're not going to get any more. Well, actually, no, we have gotten new Fraggle movies.
No, we have gotten more Fraggle movies.
It's true.
But you know what? They weren't good. They weren't good, so that's why we didn't get any good Fraggle movies. I didn't know Jim Henson was dead. Oh my God,
he's been dead. Wow, okay? I'm sorry to give you the bad news, but
episode 29, I'm devastated.
Well,
Jim
okay,
Henson is gone.
Okay. Well, anyway, he made an amazing movie in the mid '80s, starring Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie as Jareth. And that movie was called Labyrinth. It was great. It was peak 80s fantasy. It was great. It was in the vein of Willow and Legends. It's got a little bit of like Goonies going on. It's a great movie. Surprisingly, they made a video game, but only in Japan. Where you get to you get to play as the main character. I forget what her name is in the movie, but you get to play as her, and you have to save your little brother, who is taken by Jareth, aka David Bowie, who is an amazing villain. And the game is not great. The game has a timer. It says like 13 hours or whatever, which I think is the plot of the movie. You have to save your little brother within a certain amount of time, and you have to make it through this labyrinth as it is, right? You got to make it through this maze and make it to the castle and find your kid in time. Otherwise, Jareth will take him away forever, and you don't have a little brother anymore. The movie's good. I mean, it's a little bit silly of a premise, but the movie is really good. Special effects are really good and whatnot. So they tried to make a video game out of this that loosely follows the story. You do get your companions in there, Hoggle, Ludo, and Didymus, which is cool. You can use them as companions. You do get pickups, and you get like some equipment. You got to like piece this key together to get into the final tower to like find your brother. But it is so weird and all over the place and really esoteric. And I believe you lose time every time you get hit. So like the time is your life. It's not great, right? The gameplay loop is not great. It's very weird. But I love Labyrinth, and has a lot of cool set pieces. They could really do something awesome with it. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like modern graphics, but I want to take the plot of Labyrinth and modernize it, or at least kind of give it a better coat of paint, right? Give it a decent gameplay loop that kind of makes sense, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a deep cut. I didn't even know they made an NES video. I didn't know they made an NES.
I came across the ROM in college because somebody translated it, into English, so you can play it easy enough. There's like tons of YouTube videos too. It's like the music is amazing. The graphics are like okay, but like the music's great. It's even got the Dance Magic song from the movie in there in like Nintendo form. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay, so my triple R for this month.
Mm-hmm.
It's I got a little asterisk next to it, and I'll tell you why. I really like the Mario Hoops 3-on-3 game that came out on the DS.
Sure. Okay?
I thought that was awesome to have like Mario. I mean, look, we had Mario. Mario plays tennis. He's a boxing referee. Right. He plays golf.
Yep.
He's a UFC. He's a fighter. He's a UFC fighter essentially, right? In Smash Brothers.
Sure.
Like, he does everything, and he's a plumber. He started out as a carpenter. And he's had every job known to man, right?
That's right.
He's a doctor, Dr. Mario, right?
He's got his damn PhD.
And this is one of the first games where he was a hooper. He played basketball, and I love that. And I love basketball, and I want to see Mario play basketball. And I got like a slight asterisk only because I definitely want a sequel to this that's on the Switch. That would be awesome. I would want it to be more of a remaster / recycle, because I would love to see, I think a good twist to this game to make it interesting would be if you got Disney involved, right? And it was like you could pick your team and it'd be like Nintendo versus Disney, where you can have Mario, Bowser, and Luigi, because he's tall as basketball. So you have have those three and then versus Mickey, Goofy, and Donald Duck, something along those lines.
Right.
I think you can mix in like the Disney characters to make it a little bit more interesting, kid friendly, and that doesn't take away from the game being a good game, because obviously we have the Final Fantasy / Disney crossover.
Kingdom Hearts, yeah. So I mean, they have been known to work with other companies, so it's certainly possible.
So I know this is kind of cheating, but like I want a sequel. I want to remake. And I want to recycle. Right. I kind of want all three. I don't want a remaster. Just give me a remake. Give me like a remake, recycle, sequel. That type of thing.
We make the rules, Dan. So that means we can break the rules.
Okay, what are we? Degeneration X?
Exactly.
You make the rules, we break them. We're degenerates. So no, but I do love the idea of like having the Nintendo characters play basketball. I mean, we have soccer. They play soccer. Can they not play basketball? And then the next we could have like an NFL crossover. They could play football.
Yeah. I think there was one of those in the works, but it was a little too violent for Nintendo. Yeah.
For Nintendo, even though Mario plus Rabbids, Mario has a zapper gun, kind of. Right?
Yeah, he's like, it's like cartoony violence.
That's true. I mean, this could be cartoony football. I mean, where he gets a power up and he throws the ball and it's on fire and it goes into the end zone.
Right.
So that would be awesome. All right. On that note, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're gonna dive deep into our backlog and talk about Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, and Doom. And we're back. Okay, Dave, let's dive deep into our backlog and talk about Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, and Doom. I'm going to go first. I'm excited to talk about Super Mario Land 2 because I've never played it. I know, it's hard to believe.
Oh.
I've never played Super Mario Land 2, and I know if it's a series that I never played, I like to start with the first one. It's a good reason why I'm starting with the second one, and that's because Nintendo actually put it online on their online service.
Yeah, right? Well, 2's a lot better than the first one. I'll tell you that from personal experience.
Well, I did play the first one. I did play the first one, but I didn't play it thoroughly. Like it's different when you just play a game just to play it for fun, and then you play it because you want to talk about it and you got to take notes. So I did play it. I did play the first one. I just never played it for Saturday Morning Retro. But I felt confident because I played the first one, I could play the second one. I could really talk about the second one. And again, it came on Nintendo Online. I will throw a little asterisk up there. I did, and I think asterisk shouldn't be a bad thing. It should be, like a continuation, by the way. So if I say asterisk, it's not a bad thing. I did play it. I did play a little bit of it on the original Game Boy. So I definitely did that. But I did beat the game on Nintendo Online. I was super excited to play this because I didn't play it. It came out November 2nd, 1992. Nintendo R&D 1 actually developed this. Nintendo published it, obviously, and it originally came out on the Game Boy, which you can play on the Super Game Boy, on your Super Nintendo, and it had color, which was awesome. It's just a regular platformer, and I was super excited to play this because I love platformers. I'm always afraid to say platformer is like my favorite genre of video games because it fluctuates at the time, right? But I'm gonna say platforming is my favorite genre as of right now. All right, this month, February 2023, platformer is my favorite genre. So I was super excited to jump into this, and I played it on Nintendo Online service / I did play it on the original Game Boy. It's funny to know that Miyamoto had nothing to do with the Super Mario Land series.
Right.
That's like kind of wild to think about.
Oh yeah, it's vastly different than the other Mario games at the time.
Yeah, Gunpei, it was produced. It was actually produced by Gunpei Yokoi. I'm terrible with names. Dave knows this. I'm terrible with names.
Close enough.
Close enough. Rest in peace. He did die, I think, in 1999 in a car accident. The last thing he did for Nintendo was the Virtual Boy, and I don't think it's that bad. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Wow. All right. There you go.
No, it's bad. No, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's bad.
No. I like that you're standing up for the little guy. This is good.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it was that bad. Development for Super Mario Land 2 began in November of 1991 and lasted about a year until September 1992. And I think I bring that up just because I think it's remarkable at the turnaround time to turn around, games. And, back in those days, kids don't know this because, kids nowadays, we get a game that's popular now. We get a sequel 5, 6, 7 years later. Back then, you get a game that was popular, you get the sequel next year. It was Christmas next year, right? I mean, we got Crash 1, 2, and 3. Crash 1 came out 1 year, Crash 2 came out the next year, and I think Crash 3 it took maybe a year and a half, 2 years to come out, right?
Right.
So we got turnaround for sequels were fairly quickly, and it wasn't like it was a retread. They did innovate somewhat on the sequels too, so I thought that was kind of amazing to know that this game came out in 1992 and development came all the way until September of 1992, which is only a month turnaround for Japan and two months for us.
Right.
So, story wise, you would think this would be like a normal Super Mario story where he goes and saves the princess, but it's not. It actually takes place right after the events of Super Mario Land 1, where Mario was in the Saras Land rescuing Princess Daisy, which had that trope of Mario saving a princess. It wasn't Princess Peach, it was Princess Daisy in the first game.
First appearance of Daisy, too.
Oh, that's true. That's right. I forgot about that. But we're not talking about the first one. We're talking about the second. Mario... in this case, while Mario was away at the events of the first one, Wario, his debut, he put an evil spell on Mario's private island, and Mario Land was taken over, and his castle was taken over, which was kind of crazy. You got Wario, he's making his debut, and they sort of they described him as Mario's childhood rival. I have so many questions, he's Mario's childhood rival. Did he get sucked down a warp pipe too? Because Mario's from Brooklyn, New York.
They're plumbers from Brooklyn. That's the story.
From Brooklyn. His childhood rival was named Wario. He's from Brooklyn too.
I don't really think they thought that out too much. Or maybe they were trying to get away from that whole narrative. I don't know.
So the plot intended, they specifically, for Mario Land 2, they specifically wanted to change the routine of Mario saving a princess to him sort of chasing something for his own benefit, where he was opposite, fighting, instead of fighting for an individual, he was fighting to regain something for himself, which is his island and castle. Mario had a castle? Mind blowing. Mario had a cat. Did Princess Peach hook him up with? In Super Mario Sunshine, they went on vacation, right, into the Caribbean of the Super Mario, of the Mario world, the Mario universe. Mario had his own island in the handheld games.
Yeah,
he had his own castle.
He's straight chilling, right?
He's straight chilling. Rescuing a princess has its benefits, I tell you.
There you go, right?
You would travel through Mario Land collecting 6 golden coins, which would give you entry into his castle, where you could play levels in any. You could play. I thought the cool thing is you could play any of the levels in any order, right? And you had different zones, and I thought that was cool. Really creative level design. Each zone had different levels that you could beat and collect the golden coins, and then in each zone, once you get the golden coin, you would unlock Mario's castle. And they had cool things like Mario Zone, which was like a Mario robot. Space Zone, where Mario, has a spacesuit and he can jump high. Pumpkin Zone, which was sort of the scary ghost house, ghost house levels. Tree Zone, Macro Zone, Turtle Zone, and then you have Mario's Castle, which I would consider sort of the final zone. So each zone probably had maybe 4 or 5 different levels to it. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I just gotta say offhand, those are atypical level themes or aesthetic, right? Usually there's the mountainous land and the fire land and the ice land, These are especially for 1992. I mean, even today, but back in the day, people would do, here's the water level and here's the ice level, and it was very by the numbers.
Well, we definitely had a water level. We definitely, it's a Mario game. We definitely had a water level.
You got it.
I thought the 2 things that were standouts when I played this game, and again, I'm playing it for the first time. It came out in 1992, a year after its software was created.
Oh, yeah.
Right, bringing it all together. I never played this, so for me, I was the first zone that I went to was the Mario zone. It was Mario's robot. Come on, how egotistical you got to be in your own island. You have a Mario land, a Mario robot, right? So I thought that was the first thing I played, which I thought was I thought that was cool, but. From a level design, I thought the most interesting one and frustrating from a platforming standpoint was the one in space.
Okay.
The space zone, because Mario, you're an astronaut, you have the space suit on, you look like a Power Ranger, right? And he does. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And you can jump high because there's no gravity in space.
Oh, you're on the moon.
I thought,
that's right.
Yeah, so that's sort of how they sort of equated it, right? The little attention to detail where you could jump super high, right? And you have the stars, and you would think a star is a good thing, but no, it's a barrier for you, so don't touch the stars. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it was the first time I used the rewind feature on Nintendo Online. I thought the stars were a cool thing. No, stars are a bad thing in the space level. From a gameplay standpoint, it's the same thing, right? It's you get to the end of the level, that's pretty much what you have to do. And they have 2 different exits, which I thought was interesting. Again, I'm not going to compare it to Super Mario Land 1. In this instance, I'm just playing this on its own merits. 2 exits where you can hit the bell at the top, and if you do hit the bell and then go into the exit, you get a sort of a special zone where you can pick up extra lives or power-ups, right? Just like in Super Mario Brothers 2, with the exception of it's not a slot machine, but like you go to the carnival and you have the giant hand that goes down and picks something out of the box, right? And drops it off.
Right.
So I thought that was, I thought that was super cool. But again, like any other 2D Mario game, you run, you jump, you get power-ups, and you jump on enemies' heads. The power-up, from a power-up standpoint, you still have the star, which gives you Invincible Mario. You have the mushroom that gives you the Super Mario, normal-sized Mario. You have the flower that gives you the Flower Mario. And in this one, you have the carrot that gives you Bunny Ears Mario, where you have the ability to float, right?
Okay.
So it's no Tanuki suit. It's no cape.
I mean,
you're
what
not
is?
really flying. I know. You're not flying, but you're floating. And they do utilize that in interesting ways where they have coins and, that's pretty much the only real reason why you would want it, to get coins, to get lives. And I did go back just to, see if I missed anything. I did go, watch other people's sort of takes on Super Mario Land, and nobody said this, and I thought this was interesting. Nobody brought this up. I thought they put the power-ups in the individual levels in certain specific areas for you to sort of gain access. I'll give you an example. I have the flower power-up, right? So I'm Fire Mario. I really rather be Fire Mario than any other Mario in this game, for the most part. And then I see the carrot, and I'm like, well, why did they put the carrot here? What's the reason, right? And it's because, guess what? There are so many coins up here, you're going to want to float. And then after you pass this section, the next power-up you see is the Flower Mario. Is the flower, so you can be Fire Mario, right? So they put those power-ups in certain sections specifically so you can do certain activities, like collect all the coins in this area. And then they give you back the flower for you can be Fire Mario, or vice versa. Right? I thought that was super interesting from sort of like a level design.
Sure.
The thing that really stood out to me, that really popped me, is some of the different enemies. You still have the normal enemies, like the Goombas, the Venus fire traps, the Koopa Troopers. But you had new enemies that, from what I can tell, I think are exclusive to Super Mario Land, if not Super Mario Land 2. You have the Mass Ghoul, which is an enemy that has a Jason mask and some type of sword sticking out of his head, sword or knife sticking out of his head.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right.
You had the Ghost Goombas, which I think in any Mario game, you only had boos. I think having a Ghost Goomba is like a no-brainer, and why don't they have this in other Mario games? I'm sorry if it is in a specific Mario game in a specific level that I missed or forgot, but it is not widespread.
I don't think we have any incorporeal or undead Goomba anywhere. We have the dry bones, right? We have the
dry bones,
the dead Koopa Troopas. Those are skeletons. But yeah, no, and I don't think they do. And I think it'd be kind of neat to see.
Yeah. I think it would be kind of cool to have like ghost Goombas or ghost Koopa Troopers, because I mean, technically, we jump on their head and they die, so it would be cool to be visited by those in other levels, right?
Right.
And then you have the floating broomsticks, which are like, I don't even know what they're called, riverers, right? The manuals calls them riverers, but it's like floating broomsticks.
Okay.
And you jump on top, they die too. So I thought that was cool. The music is phenomenal. It's different from the other Mario games, but it definitely fits. The different themes definitely fit the levels, and memorable and sticking in your head. Unlike other games I've probably talked about on Saturday Morning Retro. I would say my favorite theme would be Athletic, and I think that's everybody's favorite song. That is classic. The main theme. Yeah, it's the main theme of the game, and I like the treetop. on the tree zone. I think that theme song is actually awesome too. That would be second best in my book. Like I said, I was excited to play another Mario game, another platformer, something that I haven't played. I definitely want to play, Mario Land 3, Wario Land, which which is kind of a weird name, right? They always introduce the next game, and I don't even think he plays Mario in that game.
You play as Wario. He is the protagonist.
You play as Wario. Yeah. In this game, Wario is the main villain that you go up against. I mean, if I skipped it, you definitely, you get the 6 coins in the different zones. They have like 4 or 5 different levels, and then you beat a boss. You get the golden coin. You need to collect all 6 to unlock the door to get to Mario's castle, and then you have the different levels in Mario's castle to get to Wario. And the final battle with Wario, I think, is kind of, some people poo-pooed it. I kind of thought it was interesting because Wario has the same power-ups you have. All right, we talk about the rabbit ears, the fire, right? He has everything except for invincibility, and you have to jump on top of him. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I love the original Mario art design because he looked crazy with his eyes, googly eyes, and all that stuff. He looks super crazy.
Right.
I thought that was cool. The thing that I was really super excited to play on Super Mario on Nintendo Online. I wasn't crazy to play it on my regular Game Boy just because of the color palette.
Oh, you,
right?
And you didn't like the puke green with the 3 shades or 4 shades of gray?
I mean, you do play that on the Switch, but it's on the Switch OLED where I don't have to keep the Game Boy up to a light.
Oh, yeah, you can also change that color palette too. You do have that option.
Yeah. This game 1000% holds up today. There are sections that are really hard.
Yeah.
Where, I prioritize getting coins to get more lives on the Game Boy when I played it on a Game Boy, just because there are platforming sections that are kind of tough where I didn't really prioritize that on Nintendo Online because they have the rewind feature. So if I died, I could just keep trying until I got it, right? Mm-hmm. Metacritic didn't exist in 1992. I did try to find a Nintendo Power because I'm sure they rated it in Nintendo Power. I couldn't find official. I'm sure I have it too. I just have so many. I'll be honest, I didn't have the time to get the Nintendo Power review. I'm sure they gave it probably a 3.5 or a 4.
I mean, it's a Nintendo game from a Nintendo magazine.
I know.
It's gonna get a good rating.
I know. So instead of, I did find really quickly IGN's top 25 Game Boy games. They gave Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, 10th. Mm-hmm. Nintendo Life, great website, top Game Boy games. They gave it number 9. Game Informer, top Game Boy games. They gave it number 4.
Wow. There you go.
No real negative ratings on this game. So nothing really to contrast that. Mm-hmm. But I will say the only rating that matters, Dave, what rating we give it.
Exactly, Dan. I need to know. On the Dan Robinson 1 to 10 scale, what are you giving this game?
Give it a 9.5.
Wow! This may be the highest rating that I think any game has gotten between me or you. Even back when we were going on the Dave scale, which was a 4-point scale, which we have since retired. I don't think any game has gotten that highest score. That's amazing. 9.5. All right.
This is the best game I've played on Saturday Morning Retro in 29 episodes.
Wow.
In 29 episodes.
Wow. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. No, you played Super Mario Bros. 3. I was going to say.
Yeah.
I know. Because that'd be, Super Mario World would be a straight 10.
If you need to buy this game, it's really hard to get this in box. I would imagine. I didn't look for it, but if you wanted to get this like complete in box on eBay, 1,000% be over $100.
Yeah.
Don't even want to speculate how much that is, but you can get a cart. You can get this cart at Lukey Games for $25.47.
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Well, I'm glad I got a copy in my possession.
I have 3.
Oh, there you go.
I have 3. So, Dave, tell me all about Doom. I'm excited to hear about this. Actually.
Oh boy, this was this was a trip, man. This was a trip. So Doom, everyone knows Doom, and I chose this game for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is that this is a game that both me and you played in its time on the appropriate hardware, aka the PC. All right. I know your dad was into all this stuff, and he got you into the PC gaming stuff, and we can kind of reminisce about that a little bit. Doom is monumental, but that's the PC Doom. That's the OG. That's the classic that ran on the 486, 486-33, or if you were lucky, the 486-66 megahertz computer with the minimum 4 megs of RAM and the 200 meg hard drive, right? And the tiny little 15-inch CRT computer monitor, right? And it was amazing. You run that game, and it was incredible. It looked like a 3D game, even though it technically wasn't 3D, and you could run around and shoot. It really solidified first-person shooters as a genre. That is not the version I am talking about today, though. I am talking about one of the many ports. It's the Super Nintendo version, Dan. All right? This came out September 1st, 1995. All right? 2 years. 2 years after the first one. This is after Doom 2 has come out. I believe Final Doom also may have been out at that point. This version was developed by Sculptured Software, who you may know. They did the port of Mortal Kombat 1 for the Super Nintendo. And
okay, yeah, I do remember that.
They did an admirable job given the strict guidelines that Nintendo put down, aka no blood and kind of neutered violence. So I think I did a pretty good version, all things considered. This is published by Williams Entertainment, right? Williams of old school arcade fame, I think. They did, I think maybe Robotron. Yeah, they definitely did Robotron and a couple other like classic arcade machines. I think they may have done some pinball stuff too. I'm not necessarily 100% on that. But anyway, this was released on MS-DOS, Next Step, OS2, Irix, Solaris, Sega 32X, Atari Jaguar, Mac OS, the PC-98, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, 3DO, Windows, Sega Saturn, Amiga, RISC OS, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, Xbox 360, iOS, Linux, PS3, Android, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, ATM machines, microwaves, refrigerators, pregnancy test. I mean, the list goes on. Doom has been ported to everything.
Keep going. You missed like 50 consoles on there. You missed like the Apple Watch,
right.
The Roku. I mean, come on.
yeah. It's been they have it. They did a playable version back when the Macintosh had the I forget what they call it, but the little OLED bar that yes. went across the top that had all the, yes. And it was soft buttons. It wasn't hard buttons, so it would always change based on your application that you were doing. Somebody managed to put Doom in there, and you could play it inside this tiny little OLED screen that was on your keyboard.
So if you listen to the regular show, the regular Rated G for Gamers podcast, we sort of have like a running joke, where I sort of end the show on what did they get Doom playing on next, right?
Yeah.
They got it playing on Xerox machines. It's playable everywhere. You name it. Anything that has a screen, it's playable.
Yep. Oh, it's crazy. So no doubt somebody had the brilliant idea. Let's put this on the Super Nintendo, right? Because they did it with Wolfenstein 3D, a bit to low to middling reviews, because they changed a lot of stuff, because Nintendo's going to be Nintendo, and they changed all the Hitler iconography, which I understand, but then they also turned the dogs into rats, and that was kind of weird, and the graphical quality was terrible. It was bad. So they said, hey, well, we did it once, maybe we can do it again. So somebody decided to, I guess Williams in this case, decided to put up money, and they got Sculptured Software together to put out Doom on the Super Nintendo. And it's a very admirable job, right?
This is the one that you're going to be sort of talking about.
Yes.
It's Doom, but is that Doom, the OG Doom, or the remastered Doom? You're talking about just specifically the SNES port.
Yeah. In terms of the gameplay, surprisingly, and I'll get into that too, it's some of the most faithful because, well, I mean, they have all of the levels, even the bonus levels in there. They didn't alter the music like in the 3DO version. I think had a completely different soundtrack, which was like kind of weird. So they surprisingly stayed pretty close to the original. But I'll get into some of the differences and the whatever else. Yeah, and this was the. I don't think it was the only game, but it was one of the only games to use the GSU-2 chip, which people may know more colloquially as the Super FX2, not the OG Super FX one that was used to power Star Fox and Stunt Race FX and some other early primitive 3D games for Super Nintendo. This was the Super FX Chip 2. This was necessary to do all the appropriate sprite scaling and to get that kind of faux 3D look to it. Okay. The lead developer, Randy Linden, he made a brand new game engine just to power this called the Reality Engine for this particular port. The other thing of note about this is that this was one of the only cartridges that was blood red. The other one that I could find was Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, which I still hold as a quality game.
Correct. I have both.
Right.
By the way.
All right. There were cartridges that were different colored, like Killer Instinct, and I think Donkey Kong. No. Donkey Kong a different color. I think Donkey Kong may have been gray, but there was like a handful. But
Donkey Kong was gray.
Yeah.
It was Doom, Maximum Carnage, and Killer Instinct was black.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a blue one. I can't. Or maybe I'm thinking of N64 games.
There may have been. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't necessarily a lot of different colored cartridges, and it's very important to note because like Nintendo was very kid friendly. We don't really want mature games on the system. Until Mortal Kombat, the first one came out, and they realized the sales weren't as good as the Genesis one, because the Genesis one had the blood code and the whatever, and you could do the spinal rip with Sub-Zero, and it was infinitely a better game because it was more faithful to the arcade classic, right? You wanted that kind of over the top violence, so they kind of turned the corner on this, right? And this is obviously a mature rated game. It does have a lot of the gore, most of the gore. Anything that was omitted from this game, I think, was a technological limit as opposed to a limit imposed by Nintendo to kind of clean things up. So you didn't have the censorship that you did with original Mortal Kombat or Wolfenstein, which is good. I think that works in its favor, right? The other interesting note is that this did have multiplayer by way of the X-Band modem, if you remember that, Dan.
Kind of remember that.
Okay. Yeah, it was short-lived, but the Super Nintendo and the Genesis had a modem that would go between the Super Nintendo or Genesis and your cartridge, and then you'd hook your phone line up to it, and there was a handful of games that supported it. I think Madden, NHL, some of those supported it. I believe Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 2 or Turbo maybe supported it, and Doom also supported multiplayer. I believe up to 4 people you could do deathmatch, which was kind of interesting and pretty rare because the internet was still brand new at the time, and especially for consoles, right? It was kind of unheard of. Like, oh, you could go online with your console. Yeah, you could do some stuff with it. So, as far as the story goes, it's pretty bare. It almost doesn't really matter because you're really just there to kill alien beings from another dimension, right? Or I guess, yeah, alien beings from another dimension. Portal opens up and the aliens come through, but you basically play as a Doom Marine or Doom guy. He is a unnamed Marine, right? And he is put on assignment on Mars because he assaulted a superior officer, who basically ordered him and his unit to fire on civilians, and Doom guy's like, nah, I ain't having it, for whatever reason, right? So the UAC, the Union Aerospace Corporation.
It's funny. I never actually knew that was the story.
Yeah.
I never knew that was the story of Doom Guy.
Yeah. So they have all these bases on Mars. The UAC, Union Aerospace Corporation, they have a they have a bunch of bases up there, and apparently they were doing some stuff, and then they opened up a portal to hell. And then demons come, flying through and infect all these bases. So you gotta rip and tear, basically, like the comic says, right, and kick some ass. And that's the game. It's a first-person shooter, as we all know now, but it really kind of solidified that platform. You start off with a pistol, and there's 7 other weapons, including a chainsaw, which you can get, which are all represented in this game, which is awesome. They function essentially the same. There are some minor differences. Most of those are for technical reasons, but in general, they kind of function how you would assume they would from playing any other version of classic Doom. Some notes about the performance. It's not great. It's not great, Dad. I thought it was 15 to 20 frames, but apparently I'm terribly off. It's a lot less. It's more like 10 frames, maybe. So it's a little choppy, right?
That's being generous.
Yeah. 30 is usually kind of the baseline minimum. 30 frames per second. You always hear that. Anything less than 30 frames per second isn't going to be great. If you can get to 60 is kind of like the gold standard. You can get above 60, that's even better. This was obviously limited hardware. It was really kind of pushing the bounds, so they did what they could. So they set it in windowed mode, right? And you could do that on the PC too. If you had a low-powered PC, you could minimize the play area and you'd put a border around it. So they did that. They did that with some other version. I think the 3DO version plays in a border, and maybe the Jaguar version too. So this is not the only version that's done that. And you get a couple extra frames.
By the way, I hate to cut you off. Mm-hmm. I was looking it up while you were talking. Mm-hmm. It seems to be only Maximum Carnage, Doom, and Killer Instinct as the multicolored carts.
Well, there you go. We hit them all.
Official. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you want to count the the Street Fighter 2 cart that came out with I think it was I Am 8-bit. Right?
Oh, the after the fact. Colors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to count those, but
no.
Of the time, then it was just Killer Instinct Black, Maximum Carnage, and Doom Red. That was it.
Yeah,
it wasn't until we got into the N64 where we got red, gold, black.
All over the place. Yeah.
We're blue, right? So, but the first cartridge that we got, NES, Zelda, right?
That's right, the gold card.
Those are gold cards.
So they are out there.
I have both. I have the gold carts and the gray carts for the NES.
Nice.
So I just wanted to fact check while you were, going in.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's good to be it's good to be factually correct. So some other notes about this game. So one, when you boot it up, it immediately takes you right into E1M1. It puts you in the first stage of the first campaign. Or the first chapter or whatever, right? And you're immediately, you hear the da-da-da-da-da-da, you're like, okay, there's no menu, there's no nothing. If you want to play a different chapter, you have to hit start and then do new game and then choose one of the other difficulty levels and one of the other chapters. So you immediately get on, I'm assuming, medium difficulty or normal difficulty, and you're in the first level, always. It's weird. Something else to note, there's no battery backup and there's no password system.
Which sucks.
I think Wolfenstein had a password system, I think. Yeah, you would think you would at least have a password system to get to different levels. So
no, they expect you to be an expert and beat it in your first try.
Yeah. So you have to get through the whole entire campaign, right? Because once you get to the end, then you can go and select Chapter 2 or Chapter 3, right? So it doesn't just go one after the other. So that was kind of interesting, right? I that really kind of threw me for a loop, right? Because it says do you want to restart level or do you want to do a new game? And I'm like, oh, maybe it like auto saves or whatever. And like I put it down for a little bit, and then when I picked it up again, no, I'm back at square one. I'm back at level 1-1. So yeah, definitely should have had a password system. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they were crunched for time. So I don't know. As far as the controls go, it is GoldenEye style controls. Even though there's no analog stick, you use the D-pad. So forward, back moves you forward and back. Left and right turn you left and right. And then the L and R buttons do the strafing, which is okay. I'd rather it be the other way. I'd rather it be the L and R buttons are the turning and the D-pad is moving forward, back, and like strafing left and right, because that's the more modern control.
Totally agree with you, but
right?
We weren't there yet at the time.
Right. Well, no, it was still very early, right? And it was definitely of the time of first-person shooters are only good on PC, and you know it honestly, I think it took until Halo for them to get it right. Right, and it's like, oh, you can really do it because you have 2 analog sticks now, and you have good controllers, right? It was just the right time for it. But I mean, you know, they were like trailblazing at the time, so I have to cut them a little bit of slack. And then you know your face buttons will handle your shooting, your action, your switching weapons. That's all pretty standard. Start button pauses, and then your select button brings up the auto map, the little mini map. Which is cool. So they ended up getting that in there too. There's one thing that, I mean, I guess it's pretty common knowledge now, but there's one cool thing that Doom did back in the day, and that's something called monster infighting, right? I don't know if you know about this concept, but basically like all of the monsters are different creatures, right? So they're different species. And they're all different. They're not related. They're only related in that they've come from the pits of hell. So the imp, yeah. So like the imp or the pinky, the little like bulldog demon thing, or the Baron of Hell, or the Caco demon, right? They're all individual. And what you could do in the PC version is you could like shoot into a room to trigger the enemies. And then if you like backed away and moved out and like hid somewhere, the monsters could fight each other, right? They could like infight because they're not a collective mind against you, but they know that you're the enemy. So when they see you, they will shoot on sight. But if there's other enemies in there and they get like clipped or whatever, like they can start fighting themselves. So you could do that. The Super Nintendo doesn't do that, and it's a technical limitation of why they can't do it. It has to. It comes down to the way the sprites are rendered. So it only renders the front of the sprite. So if you were to like go behind it, there would be nothing there. So the other enemies don't know that there's a thing there. It is weird, but they don't have that. You don't necessarily really notice it because the graphics are so terrible. It's kind of not great, and this also kind of goes into the gameplay is because it's a Super Nintendo, because they had to cut some corners, the resolution's kind of low, so it's hard to see where the enemies are. Sometimes I'll be getting hit, and I'm like, where is that coming from? And you have to really squint and see, and it's like, I think maybe over here. So you do a little blind fire from far away to see if you hit somebody. So that's kind of annoying. Another annoying fact is I was getting caught on walls a lot, and I think just needed some more time on the hopper or whatever, but I would frequently like run up against the wall and like not be able to like bounce off it or like move away from it. I kind of get like stuck. So that was like kind of annoying. And the other thing that's a bit of a quirk is that, and like, I think I said this before too, is that they have all of the levels in there. So they have the 3 campaigns with the 10 levels each, I think, and the 3 bonus levels that you can find. I think there's 1 for each chapter. But A, they don't let you pick the level right away. You have to go to start new game. And 2, they lock some of the levels or some of the campaigns behind different difficulty levels. And I was reading about it, right? So like if you do the easiest difficulty, you can only play the first campaign, which is weird, right? And I was looking it up, And what they did was you have to beat the first campaign, and then for that difficulty, it will unlock the next chapter. And I think maybe they wanted to like say, okay, you're playing on easy, start with the easiest level, right? Start with E1, M1, right? And there's no other way around it, right? So you obviously don't know what you're doing. You're new to this. You want to figure the game out. I think that's why they did that. Because if you go to like Ultra Violence, right, or Nightmare, like they have the Nightmare difficulty in here, which was added later on from the PC version. They managed to put that in here. You can play all three all three campaigns on Nightmare out of the gate, right? They're like, oh, you know what you're doing, right? You're gonna play that. I think that's their rationale, right? I wish they had that just unlocked for all campaigns right off the gate. I wish they had a menu when you first went in the game, but I can't have everything. A couple of things graphically about this. Like I said, they don't render all of the different states of the monsters, so there's no backs to the monsters. Also, the resolution's lower, right? And they didn't render textures for the floor and ceiling. That was another technical limitation. So they're just flat, right? It's like flat gray or flat brown or whatever it is in the PC version. PC version had textured ceilings and floors. So it's a little upsetting that it's not there. It's not terrible. They still have the sky textures. They still have all of the wall textures, and they're rendered, well for the Super Nintendo, I guess. So obviously a downgrade. Probably one of the worst visually out of all the different ports. But that's just, it's the Super Nintendo. They were really, really punching above their weight at this point. So I'm just impressed. I'm impressed I was able to even play it on Super Nintendo hardware. As far as
I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it's like because I do have this for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it. I was like, oh, I can have like a version of Doom, and not buy the expensive version or more expensive versions like for Doom for the PS1 or any other system like the Saturn or something. And I know you're gonna get into your ratings. I'm not gonna get into like the quality of the game, but
right.
It's it made me want to buy the PC version. Of
course,
Doom, I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
I really did think. I thought about like buying the PC version of Doom because the frame rate is. I mean, you could say whatever you want about the graphics, just the frame rate of this game was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, not even 10. I think you're being generous by giving it 10.
I mean, it fluctuates depending on how many enemies are in the room and the size of the levels, for sure. It's not great though overall. The music is pretty good though, and that was one of the high points. They managed to pretty faithfully recreate the kind of metally MIDI riffs of the PC version. They didn't do a completely different soundtrack, but they did obviously use the. I think it was the Sony sound chip that was in the Super Nintendo, and it comes across pretty good. The sound effects are pretty good too. The enemy grunts and the weapon sound effects are. I think they're pretty convincing. They do like a pretty good job. So definitely wasn't mad about that. Best part about this game, I mean, it's Doom. Right, it's classic Doom gameplay. So even when it's bad, it's still good, right? You're still playing Doom.
Yeah.
And the worst thing I think is the just kind of the low res everything. Everything's just low res. It's just not great. Hard to see, right? And you look at them side by side with the PC version, it's like night and day. Yeah, it's crazy good. So, does this game hold up? No, but yes. Because, I mean, it's Doom.
No.
It's Doom.
The game itself holds up. But the game on the SNES.
It doesn't really hold up. No. Obviously, you always go for the PC version. I would say you could also go for the... I believe
you go for any other version.
Well, I believe the Saturn version's pretty good. The PlayStation 1 version is pretty good. Doom 64, different, but still Doom, also very good. And obviously, if you get the ports that are bundled with like Doom 3 or any of the current ports that are out there for modern consoles. Those are fine too. Those are actually enhanced a little bit too. And you can even take the PC version and like enhance it. They have a ray tracing mod. There's like Brutal Doom where it adds a bunch of stuff to it. You can end up looking around. It's crazy. And everyone's made tons of levels that you can play and whatever else. I mean, Doom is Doom. But this version, not so great. Not so great.
No.
So, hard to find reviews on this game because obviously this is also pre-Metacritic. This is pre everything. This should be EGM, I think, and not IGN. I don't think IGN was out yet. So EGM magazine.
IGN definitely wasn't out.
No, EGM magazine gave this a 5.375 out of 10, which is not great, right? Which is not great. If you want my rating on this game, and that's
it's the only rating that matters, Dave.
Exactly, it's the only rating that matters. I would give this a 5. This would be even less than the EGM version. Now, I don't want to throw shade at Sculptured Software. I definitely don't want to throw shade at Randy Linden because they did an amazing job for what they could. But it's just a little too not enough. It's a little too not enough. If they had a couple extra more frames and the controls were a little bit tighter and they just had a little bit better resolution, it would be pretty damn good.
So look, let's like put this in this proper context for people who haven't played the game, and this would be for collectors, in my view. Because it's a red cart, right? Like you want the red cart because it's a collector's item. But you can barely see enemies in front of you.
Yep.
Like you just can't see enemies in front of you. Like this is not a great game. Like if you want to play Doom.
Oh no.
Like right now, if you want to play Doom, just like get the Switch version of anything, right? Like if that's the case, old school Doom, get the Switch version. Or I mean, if you're not a PC player, if you counts play, get Switch. I mean, you could buy it. I'm sure you can buy it on any platform. The original Switch version. I mean, the original version. It's everywhere. You can get it, but the PlayStation version is even better. Like or the Saturn version, right? If you want to get the long box, like those versions are way better. If you want to play on console, if you're a retro person, don't get the SNES version. I got the SNES version of both Doom and Wolfenstein, and they're both terrible. They're not great. Yeah. I thought they would be great. I didn't have any money at that time, and so I bought them to have those games. Now I wouldn't go for those versions.
Right. No, of course not.
I would go. And I have the long box Lukey version always in my cart, and I never pull the trigger on it. Right.
Oh, shoot.
So because I would rather have the PlayStation version if I want to play the original Doom and have nostalgia for it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to get the PC port. Maybe I would get the PC version, but I wouldn't open it.
Oh, that's super expensive.
Well, I don't have an old school. Yeah. I don't have an old school. No, is that expensive? Not that. I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's not that expensive.
Here's the thing. They didn't really. There may not even be a retail box version of the original Doom, because the way that it got shipped around, like the shareware version is all over the place, right? Because that was their way to get it out there to people. And you got the first campaign for like $10 or $5 or whatever. They give you a taste, so you would buy the full version, but you would have to mail away for it, and then they would like ship it to you. So there are later versions that are packaged, like Final Doom is Doom 1, Doom 2, and some other stuff in there. I think there was a retail version of Doom 2 eventually. They ended up putting that out. No. It's hard to come by.
Doom 2, you can get fairly easy. I mean, listen, if you, again, collectors, because you're not going to boot up an old Windows 90s computer for this, but you can get inbox 5 floppy disks Doom 2 for like, 60, 70,
Oh,
100.
well, see, that's just the discs too, right? Yeah, because
in box you get all the discs, you get everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get the Doom 2 not floppy disk, but the actual disc, CD-ROM for $100. We're talking about Doom 2. The original you can get those those long the long floppy disks, the bigger ones.
You 5 1/4.
Also, yeah, the big ones.
The long floppy disks.
Oh, yeah, the long. I remember those. You can get those two for. You can get those two for like $100, or you can get the original Doom floppy disk for like $500.
Well,
so, I mean, the price fluctuates. The price fluctuates. You can get it. It's obtainable. How bad you want to get it to just have a collector's item? I would get it just for nostalgia purposes because I was of the time, right?
Well, Dan, we're not talking about the PC version. We're talking about the Super Nintendo version. So if you want to get your hands on a piece of, this is also nostalgia. Want to get your hands on a piece of nostalgia? The Doom Super Nintendo cart only is on Lukey Games for $48.97. It's more than I thought it was going for. So I'm glad I own a copy of this.
Wait, if it's $48.97, it's $47 too much.
47. Wow, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't be that harsh about it, but okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not great, but obviously, this is a game for collectors. So, yeah. So, that's it. That I think that wraps up episode 29. That is in the books, folks. And we want to thank you guys for listening to the show, for liking, commenting, doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. So please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.